For this demonstration, we're going to do a version of this card, but it's going to be nothing like this one. This is the only similarity is that I'm going to be doing a triptych, so I'm going to be using 3 images. This one's using the ladies, so it's using the Pretty Young Thing, the Dreamy Elegance and the Fashionista Baby, and also the new stitched borders, just 2 of them. So we're going to be using the stitched borders, but we're going to be using the guys. Same kind of principle really. So on this one we're going to be using the Man About Town, the Trendsetter and the Sharp Dressed Man, and as I said we're going to be looking at the new stitching borders. Brand new from Trudie, only just received this myself. Really useful set, and that's an A5 set. So what we're going to do first of all is we are actually going to start with the background. I've got a piece of so I've got something underneath there, let's get rid of that. I've got a piece of paper from the Bluebell and Sage paper pack that's on the show. We've got 40 sheets, they're all A4, 10 designs, 2 sheets of each, and it's 190 GSM. Really useful base for your card, but also you can actually add extra designs to it, as in base, as in pattern, rather than building your card from it. And what I've done is I've put 4 of the stamps from the stitching borders onto the one of the long acrylic blocks, and we're just going to fill our card with this. Now I'm going to do it that way. You could of course do it that way, whichever orientation you want to deal with. So I've already got one that's finished, just in case it all goes astray, and I've tried to put them on straight-ish, so that I can line my block up against the bottom and just work my way up. That's the theory anyway. I'm using Nocturne Versifying Clair. Give it a good inking. You can of course use your stamp press as well, but I don't tend to do that when I'm multi-stamping. I don't know why, I just find it easier to do it with a block. It is a background, so if it doesn't stamp perfectly, it doesn't matter. And of course, I've got one anyway. Okay, I think that's it well inked. And let's line this up. So I'm using the bottom stitching border and lining it up against my paper. Give it a good press. Of course, you could stamp them individually one by one. I just think it's easier to stamp them straight if you've already got them on your block. Give a good old press. Let's have a look. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And it's fairly straight on the bottom as well. Might not be by the time I get to the top, so that'll be a good indication as to whether I've actually put them on properly or not. It doesn't matter. I'm not too stressed. So another inking. If you're worried, then just practice on a piece of paper first. I did. And then line this one up against the other one. I'm going around my camera, so might not get it right. Give it a good old press. Lift it up. There we go. Not too shoddy. And then we just need one more at the top, and I only need to do the bottom 2. Okay, I've done that. And I am actually going to bring in a piece of paper as well, just in case, because I don't want to. You can see this is my scrap paper for the borders. Remember which ones I've inked, which I should know because that's my repeating pattern. And I think I'm over a bit, but I can still trim it down a little bit. I am. I've missed the edge. It's a bit difficult stamping around a camera. There we go. So yes, I've gone a little bit wonky, but you get the idea. I say I'm not too worried. You can always kind of ink around the edges to hide that. It's not a problem. And then what I've done is I've taken my blending mat and a pen. This is the kind of olive green one that's from the watercolour blending pen set 2. And you need to have a little bit scribbled onto your blending mat, because this is not watercolour card. So the ink doesn't move like it would do on your watercolour card. So I've just taken a little bit of the ink around the edge, and then to fill in the middle, because I want it lighter in the middle, you need to take your water brush, make sure it's going, and it's moving, pick up some of the ink and then drag it around the centre there, so you've got a graduation of colour, and it will sink into the card a little bit. You might find a little bit kind of spreading on the outside. So I've coloured in the buttons, and I've coloured them in with the green and the sort of blue grey and the light grey that are in the kit. And I inked around the edges with bundled sage and matted onto almond hue and a black elegant ebony card. So that's my background all done. It's a bit shame to cover it up, but I am going to cover it up with some images as well. So going on to the boys, I'm just going to stamp the one. This is the Man About Town in my Stamp Perfect, and I'm using a piece of Bockingford card, which is a watercolour card from Pink Ink, and I need my Nocturne Versafine Claire again. I like to do these images in my Stamp Perfect just in case I miss a little bit, and it's a big stamp. You can of course use your long acrylic block. Give it a good press. As you get to know your stamps, you learn the sweet spots. I know I've got a little bit of a sweet spot there where it's me rather than the stamp, but when I'm working around it, I don't do that one too much. So there he is. He's a pretty handsome chappy. There's a little bit that's a little bit light there, so I'm just going to add a little bit more ink to that area there and press. I probably didn't press so well just in that area. There's always a little bit I miss. There we go, that's him. Squeaky. And I've also stamped the other two gentlemen as well. So we're going to do a little bit of colouring, and I will actually do the one I've just stamped. Probably ought to be a little bit drier than that, so I'm just going to gloss it with a piece of kitchen roll. Hopefully I haven't smudged him. No, he's fine. Just again, taking the sort of olive colour one, and all I've done with this one is just taken the pen, again, just like I did the button, around the outside. And this is a quick way of colouring in rather than spending time building up shade. If you watch Phil colour in, he does a lot with shade. I'll just do this one side here, because you can go in after the ink's dry and go and add more depth to it. I'm not a confident colourist, I suppose, so this way works for me. So you can see as I'm picking it up around the outside, it's subduing the areas that I've just put in quite thickly and blending the colour in. So I would continue and colour him in. And of course I've got some that I prepared earlier. In fact, on this, let me just show you. I've got a little tip I wanted to tell you. I've got my dies somewhere. Where they are. So what I've done is I'm going to cut some frames out, and frames are going to go around each image, right? So to know which image you want, how much to colour in, if you take the inside piece, turn it over, and then you can just draw around him. So if you want him about there, draw around the edges of your die. And then that is how much you need to colour in on the inside of the lines. And the frames are cut from these two dies together, and which will give you that frame. So then when you actually glue them over the top, then you've got, it's just perfect. And when you cut them out so that there's a little bit more, just do it manually with scissors, there's a little bit more of a border, and then you've got something to stick the frame to. So we're going to stick this frame together. And I need to put it a bit closer than that. If you don't cut a big enough border, then you'll find there's nothing for the glue to adhere to. Obviously when you stick it down, make sure that you can't see any of your pencil line. There we go. So he's nice and framed. He's a handsome chappy. Okay. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of seepage on the back, because we're going to put foam pads on that in a second anyway. Get rid of that glue. I've done the same with the other two, and I've put foam pads on the back of those. And I just need to stamp a sentiment. I've got one already stamped just in case. And this is from one of the sets, one of the young men. Don't know what I've done with them, so I can't tell you which set at the moment. It's one of them. And you're going to get all of them in the one day special anyway. Be bold. I think it's from the Man About Town, actually, if I remember rightly. So I've just, this is just a smaller of the rounded rectangles that's on the show. And I've just edged it with the bundled sage because it coordinates lovely with the olive colour pen that's in the kit. I am rocking it just a little bit, very carefully, so I get both sides of the stamp. There we go. That's better than the one that I'd got as a backup. And I'm then going to glue that on here. Make sure that's dry before I stick my fingers in it. One of the problems with VersaFine Claire is that it stays open for quite a long time. So if you are actually cutting your images out, do just bear that in mind, and don't stick your fingers in it, because you'll get a smudging of the ink. And also if you're die cutting, the ink will transfer to your cutting mats. So it's a good idea to just pop a piece of paper against your magnetic sheets or whichever mat, whatever plate you're using. Otherwise that's going to transfer to another image. Just need a little bit of foam tape on here. Scissors. Like that. And then we'll bring in our background. It's quite, like I say, it's quite a shame because we're going to be covering most of this up. So my sentiment's going down here, and we could actually, let me just show you, you could change the orientation here. Maybe have it a little bit longer, and you could perhaps have your images, I don't know, offset like that, and then have a design like that. I'm thinking we might do that actually. Shall we? No, decisions, because what I wanted to do was do this. I'll show you the other way as well. So we have him looking that way, and he's going to go in the middle like that, and then he's going to go down like that. Let's do him that way because that's the way I intended. You might see another sample on the show going the other way because I might do another one. Right, so the easiest way to line them up, and this might not be perfect, I want to give the excuse of working around a camera again, is to have them all pop down. In fact, let's line them up against this bottom thing, which is it's fairly straight, this bottom one. I'm going to do this one next. That's the only thing with a triptych, is actually trying to get them all lined up properly. And that's going to go, it's getting your borders each side the right way. Let's pop him there. I think that's okay. And this one in the middle will be the one that tells us whether we've done it right or not. He's going to go just like that. Not too shoddy. And then we're going to add our sentiment on the bottom. It's my son's birthday this week, so this would be perfect for him. Not that he's into fashion at all. Let's just pop that down there. There we go. So there's our guy version of a triptych.